Taking care of business, woman, can't you see? Gotta make it for you. Extended version of the song while we were getting some things done here in the studio. Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to the Acclivus Hour. I'm your co-host, Katrina Waddy, Public Education Director for Acclivus. Our co-host, Bamani Obedelli, Community Engagement Director for Acclivus, should be walking in the studio shortly. Just to give you a little bit of information about Acclivus, we are a nonprofit organization that looks at violence through a public health lens as we work to build safe, peaceful, economically thriving communities, and we do that by offering several free services and resources that are designed to prevent, de-escalate, and mitigate violence. We have our street outreach team that works in 11 high violence communities across Cook County, Harvey, and Champaign, Illinois. We have our hospital response team that works in partnership with 6 hospital trauma centers across the city. Our behavioral health team provides therapeutic services for victims and survivors of violence and their families. We also provide technical training, workforce development, and mentoring assistance to program participants, partnering organizations, and our staff. We have Acclivus Reentry Services, which assists newly released and formerly incarcerated individuals with maintaining healthy lifestyles by promoting pathways to successful community reintegration and decreasing social isolation. Through a partner initiative that's implemented with state departments and city organizations, we offer the Peacekeepers or Flatlining Violence Inspires Peace FLIP program. And then Acclivus also works closely with and provides funding support to numerous indigenously led sub-grantee organizations, which also contribute to curbing violence in Chicago. And we are led by Levon Stone Sr., who leverages his lived experiences in Chicago streets to promote second chances throughout the entire Acclivus organization. You can learn more about us on our website at www.acclivusinc.org. You can follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X or Twitter, and LinkedIn, and that's at Acclivus Inc. And you can always call us at 312-766-7145. As Obedelli is walking in, want to just make sure we give out the correct phone number. The phone number today, if you want to dial in with any questions or comments, is 312-705-5850, 312-705-5850. We welcome you to call in. I'm gonna try to put that number on the Facebook Live. But Obedelli, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Hey, happy Saturday. Happy Sabbath to all those that believe.
Yes. So the music that was played today was Taking Care of Business, or I Got Work to Do by the Isley Brothers, but it should have been Let's Straighten It Out, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
we might have could have played with Let's Straighten It Out. But
hey, we're still taking care of business too.
That's right. I know before we get going, we do typically start the show by acknowledging anyone who's listening who has experienced violence or is connected to someone who's experienced violence in any form this past week. And you usually keep your finger on the pulse of some of these things a little bit more.
No, I think, again, any acts of violence is one too many, and certainly our heartfelt condolences goes out to everyone who've experienced loss of life, and people who are dealing with the traumatic experience of having to care for someone who has been shot or wounded, and someone who's been murdered. And so our heartfelt condolences go out to all the families. And again, we are virtually, in the sense of giving our support and wrapping our arms around all the men and women who are working in this space, in the CVI space, who are actively engaged in every day, who are trying to mitigate, mediate, and bring the numbers of violent incidents down in communities that are impacted by it across the city of Chicago.
Absolutely. And before we get into this, we're calling kind of a set the record straight, setting the straight conversation. I just want to make sure that we, again, invite you to join the conversation by calling the studio, again, here at 312-705-5850.
Why don't you give that number again?
312-705-5850. So hopefully, folks, will, normally by now the phone boards would be lit
Yeah,
up.
well,
So
right. I think we probably have to put it in
I'm
the
gonna put it on the
Facebook
chat
Live,
too.
in the chat when
Yeah.
you get a moment.
Yeah.
But we can, and listen, we got a lot to talk about. So
Right.
if
Let
no
me
one
thank our
calls,
sponsors for sure.
Yeah.
This might not be the time for everybody to call anyway. I don't know. But before we get into this conversation, I want to quickly shout out our sponsors: the UIC Social Work Policy Center, the Illinois Department of Human Services Office of Gun Violence Prevention, our friends at the Michael Reese Health Trust Foundation, the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, or CJA, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Chicago Department of Public Health. And so thank you so much to each of those organizations for their generous support that helps make not only this show, but our work possible. And so with that, I'm going to type in this phone number here for the Facebook Live.
You did mention the Michael Reese Health Trust Foundation,
yes,
right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right, sure.
So just to dive into this conversation, many of you all may or may not have seen, if you didn't, Google it, but some recent, what I like to call yellow journalism, and I guess I don't like to call it that. It really was yellow journalism. Some articles that came out this week in a couple of the city's larger newspapers. And so as we kind of took a look at what was asked and what was, when articles like this come out, there's usually a process. A reporter gets a tip, or some kind of way there's a thought, we should take a deeper dive into this. And so where that tip comes from and where that idea comes from, I don't know, remains to be known sometimes. But they usually a reporter will reach out to the media contact or the leaders of an organization with some questions or whatever. They usually have them written out, and a lot of times we'll either do a verbal or a written interview. If there is a FOIA or a Freedom of Information Act request for further substantiated documentation, we provide that. And so typically back in the day when journalism was journalism, a reporter would take that information, and even if they had a slant or a perspective about something, hey, if the facts or the information kind of show, I kind of came into this to writing this story thinking I had one view of Obadeli, and I thought, I'm going to really, let him have it. But then when I interview folks and when I ask for information, I see, I thought he did this, but the facts do show this. I thought he said this, but someone came back and said, well, no, he didn't exactly say that. Then now I have a responsibility as a journalist to kind of, so not so much reshape the article to become a cheerful, focused article, a feature article on that organization or that person. But I do have a responsibility to state the facts. And so what I saw in a lot of these articles, and I'm pretty biased. I mean, I work for Acclivus, and of course I want things to be fair, but it was what I call the inverted, or maybe it was the regular pyramid, where the headline was sensational and it drew you in. Now I got to give them credit, for that. It drew you in. But once you read through everything, it's like, wait a minute, you're saying this, but then as you go through the article, it wasn't exactly like that. So I don't know, Obadiah, I've got some thoughts on kind of. I'll just say a few things. When you talk about yellow journalism, you're talking about sensational headlines, you're talking about misleading subtitles, you're talking about buried facts. The facts of the matter are kind of buried. These articles were like 11 pages long, so when you go into the facts of reading the whole thing,
imagine that 11 pages long.
As much pictures as I've been doing trying to get coverage,
and imagine that and imagine an 11-page article written about an organization's inquiry, reaching out to the mayor's office, bypassing allegedly bypassing the agency that funds them to seek some level of guidance, one, and help with refereeing a dispute. Yeah. That's the bottom line. We needed a referee in a dispute that the agency, according to the municipal code, had no authority to even write in. And we're talking about this alleged audit findings about, Acclivus work with the Chicago Department of Public Health, which the agency under the municipal code has no authority to audit anyone. Right. The audit has to come from the Inspector General's office, right? Which we welcome if that was the case. Right. But I mean, digging down into it, and I know I'm jumping ahead of the article, but if you go, which they figured, on page 9 of the 11, they say there was no audit findings, and also we applied for the grant and won the grant.
And had them scored the highest.
And scored the highest in the RFP process.
Let me give the overarching message, and this is me with my media PR hat on. First of all, I just want to make it clear that Acclivus conducts its business ethically and with full transparency, and we participate in state, county, city RFP requests for
notice of funding opportunity.
We participate in those processes in full compliance of the guidelines that are set forth. And so we are CVI leaders, community violence intervention leaders, who have trained other CVI organizations on how to successfully manage their administrative, back office, funding support, and effective conflict mediation. And so that is the overarching thing. And we've done that for 8 years without a lot of private funding, a lot of foundational funding, a lot of corporate funding, or any corporate funding. We've done it by hitting the ground and going out, and we don't hire lobbyists to go out and do that for us. We go to Springfield. We have forged relationships with. We do what we're supposed to do, and it's all above board. And I say that wholeheartly. So not as a PR person, but it is done ethically and in
and I think another thing, right? And so as we talk, and we've come on this radio station and talked about, we're in year 8. We are now undergoing our 6th financial audit. We've passed 5 with flying colors, no finding. You almost hard pressed to find any non-for-profit organization, small or mid-size or large, that has no findings, no audit findings. And I'm talking about financial audit findings. And we are being audited by your top 20 auditing firms, right? So this is not your mother and father's or grandfather's accountant that we pulled out from somewhere, right? We pride ourselves on doing the work with fidelity, but also having the highest standard in this space, because we also grant money to community groups, and in our space of granting out money, we want those organizations to be just as successful as we are, right? So coming into this space, I would say this. Number one, you talked about it. We've applied for grants. We've won the vast majority of our funding. We've won through competitive bidding, right? Through the state.
That is why that process is in place, so that there isn't any favoritism. Because Obadeli knows somebody. Oh yeah, they're going to get the contract. No, there's a whole process in place so that these are supposed to be fair, a competitive bidding process.
Absolutely. But however, the state of Illinois also has made appropriations available for direct to community organizations to do work that have been non-competitive. And in so much of that, I would say for the last 20 years, there's been a fluctuation, but it's been in the budget. So Ceasefire was one of those line item organizations that got direct money from the state of Illinois. There was no competitive process. Dr. Gary Suckton, with whoever his board members were, and I don't want to get into the weeds of how the idea came about. I just know this for a fact, that for 25 years, the Ceasefire line in some way had been in the state budget. When Ceasefire ceased to operate and got out of the local Illinois business, by the way, I should mention that our CEO and COO for the last 10 years of that, prior to forming Acclivus, were the signers of the administrators and the leaders of that Ceasefire appropriation that was from $3.5 million at its highest one point to $6.5 million, and it stands today about 6.8. However, when Ceasefire decided that they were not going to stay local anymore, they were going to go national and to train and get off into training cities and states across the country, that appropriation in the Illinois General Assembly somehow went to Metropolitan Family Services to administer, and now a CP4P. So that's the Community for Peace. They have they coordinate and collaborate with various community organizations. Acclivus at one point was a part in the infancy stages of that transfer. And so those dollars went to Metropolitan Family Services.
It's kind of grandfathered over.
It was grandfathered over from the Ceasefire budget line, right? That was in the state budget, so it was appropriated. And in 2019, through our advocacy and education, here's what we said. Violence, unfortunately, is a Black problem. It is. So I mean, I want to just we're going to address that right now. Yes. Unfortunately, Violence is a Black problem. Out of the 22 communities that are deemed to be the most violent in this city, 19 of them are in the Black community. Listen, and we can. It's a fact. And understanding that, Mr. Senator, Mr. State Rep, Mr. Governor, there are Black folks with the skill set and scholarship and have the ability to be able to bring us out of that problem and to drive violence down, who are indigenous people, and they should have a right also to participate in this space, not as workers, but as leaders in this space, leaders, fiduciary leaders, and educational leaders,
because they were leaders in the space when the organization was not led by an indigenous leader. So
that's
why
correct.
Can't we be leaders in the space as indigenous
leaders
of our own?
There should be also some equity. So we went into the equity and parity conversation. So who's best to be able to do that? Well, you're going to take two people who had been in this space, who have led in this space for over 20 years. We just celebrated LaVon Stone's 20th year in CVI, but for the last 10 years prior to the funding going over to Metropolitan Family Service, he was the leader of the appropriation and the leader of ceasefire.
The state director.
The state director for ceasefire. And I'm gonna be frank, and we have this running joke. It's a story. Hey, listen, I didn't believe in ceasefire. I believed in LaVon Stone. I believe in Sheila Regan. I believe in people that I've known and I've watched in the community who have done work.
They did work.
I get a lesser thought about Gary Sluckin and UIC and all their lab experiments. I'm this is tongue in cheek. I want to say something else, but nonetheless, my point is,
I'm trying to reel them in, y'all.
Yeah. So my point is, so the question of equity and parity was on the table, and so we challenged the Illinois General Assembly, and they answered the bell that we want to create an institution where Black people could lead in this space, to hire and train Black folks and send Black people back to school, get them the skills that they needed to help change the conditions of our people. And they answered, right? So that was one side of it. So there was a mirrored appropriation, and I'm thankful to then State Representative Lamont Robinson, Leader Cam Buckner now, Curtis Tarver, and so State Representative Justice Slaughter, and Senator at the time, Senator Robert Peters, and State Senator and Appropriation Chair L.G. Sims for understanding that, right, and seizing on that moment and understanding that the Black Caucus in general. Yes. Let me make this very clear. I don't, because I won't start calling names and miss anybody out. I want to talk about the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus. They take a lot of flack, but people don't really realize what the Black Caucus has done to help move direct resources into our community to organizations, and not just non-for-profit organizations, but also have put resources together to help support and sustain businesses within our community as well. So I want to just make that clear without going through a bunch of names. The Illinois Legislative Black Caucus decided that this was something that they were going to do, and the speaker at that time was Mike Madigan, also mutually agreed. And so it happened.
Black indigenously led organizations helping out with CVI.
And then after that, subsequently, there were advocates, and we were a part of that advocacy for creating this Office of Gun Violence Prevention within the state, led by State Senator Robert Peters, along with State Representative Chairman of Judiciary, Justin Slaughter. So then the office was created. The governor then made a commitment to $250 million to be put in it to address mental health, workforce development, and violence prevention. And in so much of that, then it opened up the door for a myriad of community-based organizations, indigenous folks. There are many folks who called on this radio station, whether they will acknowledge it or not. Some of them have been in this space doing community work, violence prevention, and is still receiving some of those resources. We had staff that have worked for us, that have gone on to create their own organizations that we built. We have been indigenously. Now, this is the other thing. We also fund community groups. We have given out year to date probably close to about $10 to $12 million to community-based organizations over these past 7 years as sharing. Even right now with the city appropriation, that was one of our arguments. We wanted to self-perform. We have been working in these communities for the last 8 years, bringing those resources back from the state into the city of Chicago.
Explain self-perform.
Self-performing meaning that we could actually do the work in the communities from which we are operating in. So as we talk about the 9 sites that Acclivus have across the city of Chicago, right? We are working in 9 communities. 10. Well, 10. All right, you're right. 10. I'm losing thought. See that the growth is great. You see, we're growing so fast that you can mix, right? So, but the city crafted an RFP to say, okay, you can be the lead, but you're only going to lead in giving training and guidance and monitoring. You got to pick someone else to do the work.
To do the street outreach
work.
Response work.
Do the rapid response work. That you got to have to pick another community organization to do the work. You cannot self-perform it. So in so much now, we are now subcontracting out all of the city. It really, I've used Vaughn's word in the sense that we babysitting the city's money, right? And we're granting that. By the way, they don't give us any cash advance. So that's so these are the bone of contentions, right? This is what the county, the state gives in working capital and cash advance. The city of Chicago. So here's what we need to understand about the city of Chicago
and the state.
But mostly it's for the city of Chicago, because this is real clear. And I think that is the reason why some of these folks are angry. And with the mayor, I would say on purpose. Many people don't understand it is really difficult to do business with the city of Chicago, especially if you're unbanked and you don't have banking relationships. Because the city does not give advance payment. You have to front that money out of your own pocket and then wait to get reimbursed.
So that means fronting salaries. That means fronting out-of-pocket expenses. That means fronting
all of it,
whatever it is.
All of it,
because then you got to be able to have that money already. First of all, and we're all over the place a little bit too.
But I think that's important, right? And why we raise this, right, Katrina? Because this is what I want the community to understand. They do that to deter you from applying, which is why Black folks don't do business in mass with the city of Chicago. In some instances, they play really slow. They don't advance any money. So then you sit back and say, well, this is impossible for me to do. So you go join in with a large white corporation and they get all the contracts because they have the banking relationships. They have the financial capabilities to execute the contract. So it's better while they wait on the money to come in. And they go through the same channels. If they need their money, they're going to pick up the phone and call their favorite alderman who has a relationship and ask them, can you call the procurement department? Can you call the finance department? I need to get paid. It's been 60 days. It's been 45 days and we've not been paid. My only point is this. It's unfair. But yet we applied. We scored the highest. But all along, we intended to challenge an unfair progress. Now, this process,
not just for us on our behalf, but for other
groups. And here's what the city did, and we didn't even protest it. Under the Lightfoot administration, they awarded this same contract out to one entity. One sole organization. When we applied, we wrote a letter of protest to the mayor immediately saying we didn't think it should be one entity.
And we have a right to say that. And
we don't think it should have been one entity, number one. No reply, no response. We applied, we won. They split. That following same year, we applied because the contract was up. It was in this last third year. So the city has the right to do what they call a continuation up to 3 years on any contracts. And most of them they do. They want to disrupt services. So there can be a smooth transition out. That makes sense.
So the first year we applied for it under the Lightfoot administration, we did not get it.
No, we didn't apply because the way they wrote the RFP said that you cannot apply if you had no sub-grantees. So we would have already had to have sub-grantees under us. That's the language that they put it. So we knew then the way it was written, it was set up for one particular organization. And that was Metropolitan Family Service because they inherited the ceasefire line, which gave them sub-grantees, which automatically gave them sub-grantees. So an indigenous organization who's been doing the work for 20 years.
With no sub-grantees.
With no sub-grantees, but we had been working in the community. The only thing we were doing work was in the hospitals. We had 6 hospitals, right? And we had 2 communities that we have gotten some outside grants from right? And partnering. But again, going into many of these communities, and I know I'm jumping a little bit, we were led into that space. I say all this to say the articles were written mostly about the city of Chicago and our relationship with the city of Chicago, and the title politically connected non-for-profit, which is egregiously and grossly salacious and it's not accurate. Sure. It's misleading because
politically connected, as if to imply that there's favoritism connected to that political connection, and that is not true.
Here's the other side about it, Katrina. We won the bid. We were the lead, right? They say we're splitting it down the middle.
Give the details on it. So that particular grant was an $8 billion grant.
It was a total of I believe it was a $12 million grant. Okay.
So we applied for it. It was at the time when we applied for it, it was supposed to just go to one organization. So as we're making follow-up calls to say, hey, all these things that you guys are asking for us to resubmit to help with our proposal, with our submission, we're following up. Hey, Obadilla, did you get my thing? Hey, did you get this? You asked for this. We're sending this over. We're making follow-up calls. So that speaks to some of the calls about if I don't get a response from person at this level, I'm going to go to the person over their head. If I don't get a response from that person, I'm going to the person over their head. I have a right to. You asked me for some information to support my submission. I have a right to go back and say, hey, did you get my email? Did you get it? If you don't respond back to me, I have a right to now say, who's your supervisor? Who's EFSA? I have a right to escalate that follow.
And listen, you're not going to listen. Let me just say this, and I don't care what anybody says. You're not going to tell me that, as a citizen of this city of Chicago, of the city, that I can't send an email to the mayor. I can't send an email to a deputy mayor. I can't send an email to a senior advisor to the mayor or to an alderman and to advocate. That is a part of their job.
To advocate, to complain, to raise
whatever. But what I'm saying to you as a citizen, you have a right. Here's the other side of this, but I want to make very clear. The city decided somebody at CDPH decided to split the grant. 312-705-5850 is the call-in number. That's 312-705-5850 is the call-in number. The city of Chicago decided to split the grant in half and select two large organizations, WVON family. Acclivus won the grant. I'm going to keep repeating it like a parent.
We scored the highest.
We scored the highest on the bid, according to the city of Chicago. They split it in half. We quote unquote allegedly split the grant in half. Gave us the South and South parts of Southeast side communities. They gave Metropolitan Family Services, West, Southwest, North, and Northwest side communities that are on these 20 out of these 22 communities that are most violent. Right? We got $6.3 million. They got $8 million. Explain that. Explain how the group that scored the highest we split the grant in half
for an RFP that was supposed to be for one organization.
For an RFP that was supposed to be for one organization, not two, but for one. It's been split in half, and that group got more money than we got, and not only got more money than we got once, but in the second year. And when we looked at the budgets and saw that wasn't equal, we then went back to the commissioner and said, "Explain this." It was. She wouldn't have no conversation with us about it. Ignored us. So then at that point, we escalated it, right? And called a meet. And then that's when things got funky. Because now you got to explain why are you giving this group more money than we're getting? And then you're coming back, putting all these guidelines and telling us all these things we need to do with the same menial amount of money. But this group got $2 million more. And so they could do what you're asking them to do. Listen, the question of parity was on the table from the beginning. Now, you know what makes this real difficult? This was a Black woman, and I've already expressed how I felt about her. This was a Black woman that was running the department that the mayor appointed. These were mostly Black people in this space leading. That was the frustration to have to battle with people who you would think that would understand, number one. And it's not like LaVon and Sheila were strangers to even people at CDPH. We'll go back to the Lori Lightfoot. I would surmise it this way. At that time, Susan Lee and, you had Dr. Arwadi, they wanted access to our hospital program. The hospital program was the foundation of this organization. Von and Sheila had carried that and led it. It's in the foundation of this organization. The city of Chicago wanted to take the hospital program, wanted us to just give it to them. and give them access to it, and say, now you can apply if we decide to put out
for the program that we already
doing, that we already run. Start talking to so imagine this being locked out while this other organization, I won't call them a competitor, but this other non-for-profit organization that's been leading in this space, but however, they have had access to state funding for 7 years, county funding, no bid county contract of $15 million, by the way. No, so tell me
that didn't go over.
No. Let's be clear. The county grant we applied for it and won it for mental health, not for violence prevention. They were given a $15 million no bid contract.
Again, no bid meaning it wasn't.
There was no RFP. There was no. They were granted $15 million to their organization from the county.
Okay, so
they had $15 million from the city. They bid it and won it. They bid and wanted that contract. It was written for them. No one else could apply because there was no one else had subcontractors at the time. So they got $30 million. They picked up another $10 million from the state. While Acclivus, with our 6.5, and then in 1 year it dropped to 4.8. So we got so much connections, and we're so politically connected. We received a budget cut. We get zeroed out of the budget every single year.
Go down to Springfield
every year and advocate and to get back into the budget.
And down to the wire.
Before we know we're going to have to lay off staff or not.
Or cut sub-grantees or whatever.
So this notion about this politically connected group that's won all this money. Well, then tell us what, even with the minimal amount of money. So people look at 8 million or 16 million. I had somebody tell me, well, y'all got a bunch of money. Y'all got $32 million. I say, compared to who? The other organization that's doing the same work got 50 million. And 30 million of it was basically a no bid contract. So you can miss me with that nonsense, right? And I don't know what their audits look like. I mean, you go to ProPublica, I can tell you, I can lead people go to ProPublica and put their name in there and Google their audit findings, because here, brothers and sisters, by the law, so I'm giving you something else. By the law, you have to do an audit, and with anyone who gets more than $250,000 have to complete an audit, right? And so you got, and anyone who in the organization that's making a salary over $100,000, you have to file them and put them on 990. So it's public information where you can see audit findings you can put Acclivus name in there. You can put Metropolitan Family Services in there. You can see any community-based organization that's been in existence more than 3 years should have a audit produced by now, and they're 990s.
Right. Let me, because I want to look at the time, and I know we got a couple of callers on. Just again to repeat that call-in number, 312-705-5850. So we talked about what our follow-up was about when we were reaching out. The article talks about, so many words like we were just doing all this reaching out, and and this follow-up as if this was something bad. We were following up on the information requested about these audit findings. We were following up to confirm that Acclivus replies were received. We were following up to advocate for a fair RFP process. We were following up to clarify that the total award amount that CDPH provided, they had
was wrong.
Different ones. It was quoted this way. So we were clarifying that total award amount, and we were following up to push for timely advance payments to avoid more funding funding delays to our sub-grantees.
Let me just say this, because I follow the process. We follow the process. CDPH initially sent us over a contract template for $6.5 million. And we said, wait a minute. How about 9? We know that the aldermen passed a budget with $32 million in it that said CVI, right? For community violence interruption services. The last budget was passed through the city council at $32 million in it. So in our mind, thinking there was going to be an increase, how do we get a budget with a budget cut? With a decrease. So we fired off an email back, radio silence. Radio silence from the commissioner, radio silence from the deputy. I say, oh, no. Now we 3 weeks into the new year, the new January. We now we
the budget didn't pass until end of December.
End of December. We get correspondence. We got correspondence from them 3 weeks into January, right? So we have all these community groups waiting, but work is basically shut down from a city standpoint. We're still kept now. Mind you, we laid nobody off on our staff. We kept all of our staff intact and continued to pay our staff.
Because we were able to do that, but for the CVI, other CVIs who might have been waiting for that funding, they may have to shut down operations.
Shut down operation and let people go. By the end of January, we get this correspondence, about the 6.5. We said, oh, no. How do you give us a budget cut when the city council passed $32 million? What are you doing with the money? No. So immediately the next week, we filed for letter, but the mayor's senior advisor on it, the mayor's chief of staff. Then we get a correction. Then they start sending us over the contract, and then they send us 2 different versions of it. Then sent us
the contract with the other organization's name on it.
Sent us with the other organization's name on
it
and their information and the amount that they was getting, sent us the wrong information. Giving them $9 million. And so, hey, listen, let me just say this to you. It has been a struggle. And I'm going to say this, and I love the mayor, but this has been a struggle dealing with the city of Chicago and dealing with this agency, the Chicago. But we're not the only ones. We're the only ones that are willing to speak up about it. The Black folks who work in the HIV/AIDS space, the mental health space, are going through the same thing. It's just that, listen, you're not going to bully us. Listen, for me, I'm going to say this for me. I'm probably one of the most outspoken people you're going to find.
I think so.
Yeah, right. So listen, we're not going to play these games. You're going to treat us like you treat the dominant culture, and we're going to be respected. We're going to continue to do our work with fidelity as we have been. We're, as I just said, we're going through our 6th financial review audit right now as we currently speak. I can't wait till that's completed so we can come and brag about that. We've got 5 years of clean books, and we have helped train and build up well over 20 community-based organizations who are doing this work. I'm saying well over themselves. We're in the middle of a no-fault process right now where we're going to grant money out. We should have an announcement probably next week when those selections are going to be done. Once the reviewers are done reviewing the proposals, we're going to continue to do the work and do it with fidelity and be damned this yellow journalism. And I just didn't, I've been around Chicago knowledgeably, moving around the community for 34 years. I question the newspapers, but I've never seen it at this lowest of this salaciousness. I mean, it's tantamount to the New York Post and the Onion, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it just with gossip and hearsay. I just never know that was, you print something that's factual. If we had done something wrong, damn it, listen. It's fair game. I don't have a problem with that. And I would just say this lastly, because I know that becomes some questions. Listen, my life is an open book. I am neither proud or ashamed of anything in my past. And again, as a citizen of this city and this state, I have a right to work and I have a right to run a business. And to the day that I die and God take breath out of me, I'm gonna work a job as long as I want to work a job. And I'm going to run my business like I've been running my business for the last 28 years.
And I want to just add, because we're going to go to the to the phone lines too, but I want to just add too, again, when you work for an organization and you do have outside employment opportunities or outside involvement in different organizations or whatever, you do fill out, you do complete and submit a conflict of interest form. And that conflict of interest form is reviewed by leadership, is reviewed by legal, and it is deemed that, okay, there are almost half the people that work at our organization have their own businesses or have a second job. So again, as long as we are doing our part and submitting everything, then that's all we can do. As long as we're operating above board with ethically, transparently, in compliance, then that's all we can do. But okay, let me take some calls too, but because we're almost in the last 15 minutes. Michael, thank you so much for holding your own with the Acclivus Hour.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
My name is Michael O'Connor for the radio audience. I know of what you speak over there because you know I went through it. I'm going to tell you what you got to do. Sometimes you got Negroes who are they get these jobs and they are othered. That's the term I want to use, because they don't take the time to do what they're supposed to do, especially CDPH. The Chicago Department of Public Health has been just literally not in the best interest of Black Chicagoans ever since the HIV crisis first started. I know exactly what you were talking about, and I'm going to tell you what action plans you need to do. And I don't care who knows it, because this ain't nothing new. Anybody that knows me know this is what we do. You got to get your troops together. You got to form a pack. And the newspaper organization, you got to get every public copy that you can find. And you got to get some of your troops, and you set fire in public of the newspapers, because it is what is considered yellow journalism. You let them fight each other to get the news. Then you turn around and you make sure that those commissioners understand if you have to follow them home. That's some of the things that Lee, Lloyd, and Mark and Benny used to do. Now they are gone. I'm the last one here. I'm 69 years old. I know the struggle must continue, because if you don't do it, we won't get anything. But I'm glad that you were on WVON, letting WVON listeners know, our people, Black folk, that in this city, some of these Negroes ain't in our best interest. And the mayor is not cleaning their clock as quickly as possible. Hopefully that'll be taken up the next time if he runs. But this commissioner, they got to go. It's just that simple.
Well, she's gone. She's gone. The mayor summarily dismissed her a few months ago.
There's a whole Tribune article about why she was dismissed as well. Why she,
Well, but if you read this article, they are inferring that we're the reason why she got dismissed, which was,
you know, bunch of nonsense. You got to fight that journalism. The way that you fight that journalism is do like everybody else. You take that newspaper and you burn it in public.
Yeah, well, I like to say I leave it next to the toilet stool when they run out of tissue.
Well, you can do that too, but nobody would see it.
Right.
You want to deal with visibility on the issue of parity.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I think you know, in all sincerity, and you can see the way the news business is going. And 312-705-5850 is the number. 312-705-5850 is the temporary calling number for WVON.
Michael, let me see if I can grab these other calls too. Thank you so much for calling in too.
Yeah, but I would add, Katrina, that you really today with the newspaper, and we can get back to the calls I would add while you're taking them, that you're hard pressed to find a physical copy of a paper today. That the news business is changing. It's mostly online. It's mostly online. A physical copy of a newspaper is almost next to existence. If you go find them, they're $4 and $5 a copy.
Yep, that's a good point. Karen, thanks so much for holding your own with the Acclivus Hour.
Today is one of the greatest shows Acclivus have had. I salute you, Obadali.
Well, thank you.
Because I say every day, we know nothing about business. And today you explained it very well. We know nothing about business. We don't know the three entities, the city, the state, the county. We don't know procurement. We don't know any of that. And there's been plenty of favoritism on the other side, all the way back to mental health facilities, transportation, everything. And those of us that fight get talked about. I commend you today, sir. That's why I'm always calling you, Obadeli, and reaching out to you because, see, I know your heart. I spend time with you. I don't care what it look on the outside. I actually know what you do behind the scenes. That's why my job is to connect people that do know business with people that's going through business so that we can do business properly and not be throwing the ball at. We hit each other because we're ignorant when it comes to business. This show today, you hit it. If I've never said it to you, sir, it's time to teach business. Because unless we, as a whole community, understand business, we're going to continue to fall. Somebody said to me, hey, Karen, How come we can't continue to give certain politicians enough time until they learn it? That's not fair. Number one, if you in a mighty position, you should have went in already knowing business. And I'm talking about people like the mayor and the Cook County board president. You have to know business so that they can teach those behind you what the business is. So no, if I use money to mess up when I first started business, guess what, sir? It was my own money. But when you messing with taxpayers' money, you should go in already skilled. And like you said, you are one of the most open people, period, to say it. And today, brother Obadeli, you talk business over the air. And continue to do it and continue to stand up, because this ain't a black and white thing. This is an ignorant and intelligent thing when it comes to business and how to handle business and how to make sure you do things the proper way.
Thank you,
I salute you, sir. Staying tall. Love you.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you so much for calling in. We got a couple more callers. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Pianki?
Look, Obadeli, I really appreciate you explaining your view. And I knew it was something that we all did not know about. You continue to do the good things that you're doing. You'll be blessed in the long run. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for calling in. Thank you for sharing that. We got James. Good morning, James. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Man, it was so many things you said. I've been privy to bumps and, like small views of you, but thank you for your service. One of the things I've worked in government, I've dealt with government, I did all of that. But one of the things that people don't understand, the institution of the city of Chicago, it is a closed society. You have to get into this society. You have to scream, fight, claw to get in. And they have checkpoints and gatekeepers everywhere. Everywhere. And here's the thing that most people miss. They say the city did this, the city did that, the county did this. No, you are the city. They work for everything, and you are the city. You're a shareholder in this city. Act like it. Don't act like it's them and you. Act like you own, because everybody else act like they own this but us. This is our city.
I agree. And we have a right to the resources, and we have a right to do business with the city as citizens. And it should not be an albatross noose being placed around your neck to do business with the city of Chicago. If the mayors listen to this show and the sound of my voice, and this has been our argument, the best way to open city government up to marginalized people who have businesses is to do some form of cash advance, payment and prompt payment within a net 30 days. That is the only way you're going to end this disparity of disinvestment into black communities with black people. So it's not just about Acclivus. Let me make this clear. We screen this to the roof. If we don't have another contract with the city, we're not going to stop fighting. If you're talking about parity, and if you're talking about equity, and you're talking about reinvestment, the only way black people, the majority, I'm not talking about a few, because the whole is greater than the part. I'm talking about the vast majority of black folks that I know that have businesses who would like to participate. They can't do it because they can't afford to.
Yep. James, let me thank you.
And
so
that
much.
shouldn't be a deterrent.
But it is.
My response. That is a cleansing process. They do that intentionally to weed you out. They know you can't hold on. They know you can't hold on. And one more thing I want to say. If you go to St. Patty's Day on Arches Avenue, all those businesses that was lined up for the St. Patty's Parade, those businesses were built through state, city, county, and federal contracts. Understand that.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
Listen, you have to do a earnest system, Katrina. It's just like even, thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
You own a home, I've owned a home. I've had people come do work for me. There's a brother that called in on this radio station that does his home repair. And he said, hey, I can do this job, but I'm gonna need $2,000 up front so I can buy my material and supplies. And then as I'm going through the job, then you pay me along the way. I don't see a problem with that. So if you're going to tell me we got a $9 million contract and we are a small community-based organization, which we got no loans from no banks, right? So I'm just going to be clear about this. Out of the reserve dollars that we've had, that we've built up over these 7 years prior to getting, now imagine that, 8 years in the city doing work in that one city contract until recent, then we get the city contract, we win the bid, we score the highest, and then they split it, and then give us less, and then give us less money than they give the non-Black organization.
We got to say something about it.
Yeah.
Let me try to take Max. Max, you'll be our last call. Thank you for holding, Max. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Fantastic. Good morning, Obadeli and Katrina. I have the absolute utmost respect for you all. I'm Max Knighton, founder of Another Chance Chicago. And I have not had an opportunity to read the article, so I can't responsibly comment on the specific allegations, but I can speak to a larger truth that organizations closest to violence, trauma, substance use, and justice involvement are often expected to solve enormous problems while spreading an extraordinary amount of time growing themselves or proving themselves to institutions that just do not always understand community work. Another Chance Chicago, we're building a very unique adolescent substance use treatment model for young people that are falling through the cracks of the conventional services. Our greatest obstacle is not the absence of a program or experience or community need. It is securing, as you all have talked about and have stressed, it is securing startup capital to demonstrate fiscal solvency before Illinois will even license us. Yet many funders want us licensed and operating before they'll even invest. That is the trap that's facing a lot of the emerging community organizations. We've applied for funding through Acclivus, and I respect the integrity of that process, so I'm not calling to influence any discussion whatsoever. I'm calling because this conversation matters. And if Chicago is serious about reducing violence or continuing the trend that we're on to continue to reduce the violence, we absolutely have to. We must invest, not only in the large established institutions, but also in credible community-rooted organizations before they are before we are forced to close or even prevented from opening up at all. That's my comment. Thank you.
Well, listen, brother, much, I appreciate you, Max. And if you call our number, we'll give it to you. I'd like to just talk with you, not necessarily about, I can't have a discussion about your NOFU, but I would like to just connect with you from a community standpoint. I have not heard of your organization in the past, so I'd like to just know more about the work that you're doing and see how we can, because I will tell you that youth, adolescent substance abuse, and mental health treatment and programs are critically needed in this day and time, brother. I mean, and especially from a grassroots level. So many of our young people are chemically addicted to a myriad of drugs and are suffering some real severe mental health challenges. And you may be the right brother to help facilitate and bring us out of that space.
Max, our number is 312-766-7145. And of course, if you go to acclivusinc.org, you can find that information there too. Please reach out to us, Max, because I was thinking of some things I wanted to talk with you about too, even for the show and stuff like that too. So please reach out to us, and we'll be back in touch with you.
Absolutely. I certainly will.
Thank you, Max. Well,
thank you all.
Thank you.
God bless.
And I agree with him. I think your summation is spot on for anyone. And we've come into this space, Katrina, I just want to add, encouraging folks to apply for grants. We've said it over, apply for grants. We will offer up some level of technical assistance. We're not writing it for you. Right. We're not doing the work. So it's not about Acclivus trying to gather all the resources in the community. We share a lot. And with the city, they mandate it.
And I'm gonna tell you, I was in the hallway yesterday, and one of I don't know if she's an official sub-grantee yet or not, but I said, hey, you good? You good? She said, oh, I'm just here. I'm having a meeting. I said, when we gonna get you on the Acclivus Hour? And she said, hey, I got to go through this process. So y'all gotta I's dotted, T's crossed process of making sure that we have our stuff in a row so that we are able to sustain our organization through whatever needs, whatever comes, So I know that we have a rigorous process that makes sure that folks are in compliance, make sure that folks understand how to be able to get reserves,
and we give and man, that we subgrant out money and we give working capital. We give up to 1 to 2 months of working capital to folks, right? To get you started to do the work. So we don't we it's not coming that's some hypocrisy. We're not saying city give us working capital and we don't believe in giving working capital out to folks that we partner with, because we understand Black people have a banking issue. And listen, the moniker of this show is how we create safe, peaceful, and economically thriving communities. You're not going to create economically thriving communities off a non-for-profit alone. Let's be clear. It's going to take businesses hire people and employ people, and the small businesses do it the most. So if we're talking about investment in communities and why there are no poor white communities, but a plethora of them are Black. This is one of the reasons why, Katrina, is because of the lack of investment. But here's the other side of it, and the lack and access to critical capital that is needed to be able to change the lives of our people. So one goes hand in hand with each other. That's all we're saying.
Well,
we ain't gonna stop advocating now. We will not stop advocating.
And I think we're gonna have to continue this conversation on some subsequent shows. But before we sign off, I want to make sure folks know next weekend.
The back to school event.
We got a lot of things coming up next weekend. On Saturday, August 22nd, this will be our last Play Streets activation in the North Lawndale community. It'll be off of 21st and Pulaski, and so you're invited to come out to that. Saturday, August 22nd, from 2 to 5 p.m. And then on Sunday, August 23rd, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Various barbershops. You'll hear the commercial on 47th Street, 251, the House of Haderas on 95th Street. Shout out to Hair Experts at 216 East 47th Street, and the one in the mall on 54th and Wentworth. And I know the time is short, but they're on the west side on Pulaski at our site out in Harvey. We're going to have free backpacks, free after school, back to school supplies, and haircuts and hairdos for the young girls. We'll talk more intriguingly about it next week. We wanted to really come on this week, brothers and sisters, to kind of set the record straight. I hope that we educated some of you, and shed some light on what we felt was a very slandered, misleading news week for the organization. I would say I'm not too much worried about myself. I don't care. Just don't call me late for dinner and spell my name right.
You know what? On that note, thank you all so much for tuning in, for your comments on Facebook. We are going to wrap up today's show, but on behalf of LaVon Stone Sr. and our board of directors, we wish everybody a safe weekend.
Safe weekend. Peace and great things. We out of here.